The narrator, Jacqueline, reflects on the weight a single word can carry, a word spoken by her husband's boss that changed something inside her. It happened during late autumn, the kind of season where the air whispers of winter. Her husband, Charles, had invited her to a formal company dinner. Lately, however, she had grown indifferent to these gatherings, finding them filled with the same faces, same shallow conversations, same stiff laughter. Jacqueline chose a navy dress and her mother's thin pearl necklace. Her intention wasn't to impress anyone, but rather to remind herself that she could still carry grace even when she didn't feel particularly seen. Charles was eager, moving quickly into the banquet hall to catch up with colleagues. Jacqueline followed a step behind, watching the chandeliers cast delicate patterns across the room. She saw Gerald, Charles's boss, whom she had seen many times but never truly noticed. Gerald was not the type to dominate the space with loud gestures. He carried himself quietly and observantly. As the evening wore on, Charles disappeared into a circle of men discussing numbers and strategies, which held no interest for Jacqueline. She drifted toward a large window offering a view of the city skyline. It was here, looking out at the city lights, that Gerald found her. He approached slowly, sensing she was waiting without even realizing it. "Jason," he said. Hearing her name in his voice felt different. It felt like he wasn't just saying it out of politeness, but because he saw her. She replied with formality, "Mr. Hensley," a response driven by habit. He then gently corrected her. Gerald corrected her formality with one simple word. He smiled a little and shook his head before saying, "Gerald." It was just one word, but it stayed with her. The way he said it was not casual or demanding. It was an invitation, an opening. It landed like permission, not a leveling of rank, but a bridge offered with steadiness and no hurry. The sound of it lingered in the air between them. They stood side by side, looking out at the scattered lights of the city. He didn't push the conversation, and the silence felt appreciated, saying more than chatter ever could. Eventually, he asked how she was enjoying the evening. Suddenly, Jacqueline found herself sharing more than she expected. She admitted that these events often made her feel like a prop in someone else's show, smiled at when convenient, forgotten when the spotlight moved elsewhere. He listened. His eyes stayed on hers, making her feel uneasy at first and then comforted. Gerald then shared a thought from his father. "The people who matter are the ones who see you when you're not trying to be seen." The sentence sank deep. It wasn't flattery, it was real. The words recognized her, and she realized recognition could be more intimate than praise. She felt visible, not because of her dress or her association with Charles, but simply because she was a person standing by a window, and someone had chosen to meet her there. For a moment she forgot the titles and the buzzing room. She noticed the lines around Gerald's eyes, carved by years of listening and observing, and the relaxed steadiness of his hands and presence. He was offering something she hadn't realized she was missing: attention without judgment. They talked about small things: books, travel, and music. With each word she felt more alive than she had in years. The sincere attention felt like a thread fine as silk linking them. When Charles finally returned, Jacqueline composed herself, smiling as if nothing had changed, but internally, everything had. That single word, Gerald, still echoed in her. Charles talked about office plans on the drive home, but her thoughts kept drifting back to that word. It wasn't about romance. It was about being seen, about being recognized as more than just someone's wife at the edge of a crowded room. Lying in bed, she replayed the way Gerald had said her name and offered her the gift of undivided attention. She knew her life, which had felt simple and predictable just hours earlier, no longer looked the same. When morning rose, she felt awake in a way I hadn't been for a while. A quiet rearrangement had begun within her. She felt curious about myself again, carrying that curiosity like a soft lantern through her own rooms. She pulled out old sketchbooks which she hadn't opened in years. Smiling at the brave silliness of trying that her old sketches represented, she poured herself coffee, 2 days later, she received an email from Charles's work about a charity committee needing help assembling winter kits at the office lounge on a Saturday morning. It was not a glamorous event. It involved folding blankets, sorting gloves, and slipping notes into envelopes that simply read, "You matter." She signed up without overthinking the reasons. The office on a weekend felt different, smelling faintly of copier ink and lemon cleanser. Jacqueline started laying out toothbrushes and knit caps. An hour in, Gerald appeared carrying a box. He was not in a suit, wearing a dark sweater with sleeves pushed up, suggesting he was there to help, not just supervise. They exchanged a quiet hello, a greeting that acknowledged their last conversation while silently agreeing to keep everything within the territory of good manners. He thanked her for coming, noting that weekends are precious, and they began to work side by side. Their hands found the same rhythm: fold, place, smooth, tie, the ordinary choreography of shared work. At one moment, their hands reached for the same pair of gloves. They shared a small laugh, the kind that says, "Excuse me and thank you and yes, I see it too." She realized that the word Gerald now felt like a door propped open, not an invitation to cross a line, but an invitation to meet as people, not as roles. They spoke of small things: the neighborhood, the maple tree, and a framed photograph of a river he had taken. When the work was finished, he thanked her at the doors, saying her name in a way that felt well seated in his voice. She replied, "Thank you, Gerald," and meant more than the words could carry. On the drive home, she felt newly placed inside my own skin. She told Charles about the day and he smiled and squeezed her knee. She wondered how many small threads in a marriage have frayed simply because no one thought to tie them again. That evening, she brought her sketchbook to the kitchen table and drew the glove they both reached for. Though the drawing was not good, it held a small, respectable moment. Later, she sat alone and said the word to herself just once: "Gerald." It felt like a note tucked into her own pocket. "Pay attention. You are still here. You are not invisible to yourself." She didn't know where this thread would lead, but she knew what it had given her: a brighter room inside my own life, a steadier mirror, a reminder that being seen does not have to be dramatic to be real. And for now, that is enough.